before we call on the minister. There are several questions here, and I'm going to apportion the questions appropriately. So Yewande, there are questions around the Nigerian business. What is in it essentially for the Nigerian entrepreneur? And I'll ask that you will deal with that. There are questions around the protection of the Nigerian business. And I'm wondering whether we should be how we should be thinking of protection now. Yewande, I'll be asking you to put on your investment banking hat. How do I protect myself? Or how do I protect my business? Do I go into protection mode, or is really attack the protection? When I say attack, in terms of preparing myself for global standards and for global service, is that really the mode that I should go in? Then there's quite a number of questions around the SME. What is in it for the Nigerian SME? So Yewande, you will deal with those questions. What are the incentives for the Nigerian business? Because as NIPC, before now, you were looking for foreign direct investment. Now, all of a sudden, even Nigerian businesses are in your ambit. So, what kind of incentives will we get for Nigerian businesses? Francis, I don't want to be in your shoes now at all. So, Francis, the questions again are many for you. I want you to deal with questions around all government agencies. Are they working in sync to support AFTA? Where are they? We know that readiness is still ongoing, but is every government agency on board? Also, there are questions around quality assurance. So how do I ensure that I get the certifications that I need for export? Then there are questions around arbitration and then trust. There's this major issue around Nigeria and Ghana. It started with jollof rice and all that, but there's still that issue of trust. Nigeria, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa. What is the government doing to facilitate all this, right? Now, there are also questions around movement of people, visas, free movement of people. Then there's the major issue around transaction, currency. Which currency are we trading with? Then there's the issue of infrastructure. I don't expect that you have the capacity to do justice to all this, but Francis, I don't want to be in your shoes right now. You're the closest person to take on these questions for us. Mr. Muda Yusuf, I am thinking of questions for you, but first of all, I want to say that you are in charge of, you lead the Chamber of Commerce today, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce at that. What solutions do you have to your members? How can you help? Yes, there's a laundry list of government requirements and what government must do. But what are you doing in your capacity as the Director General of the LCCI to help businesses, small businesses, big businesses? What are you doing? What offerings do you have? How can we get on this? Because from what we see, we are here and things must move on. So how are you going to help? So again, I'll throw it back. Yewande, you come on first, and then Francis, and then Mr. Muda Yusuf, you come up. Thank you. Yewande, are you there? Yewande, are you there? Okay, Francis, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Francis, do you want to shoot on yours? I don't envy you, but do you want to shoot? Do you want to shoot on?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you very much. So the first question for me is: are all government agencies in sync? And the direct answer is no. And no, because everyone is still trying to figure out where they play, how they fit into this whole thing. One of the first things that we did when the National Action Committee was was inaugurated was to look at what are the implications of the agreement. And we had all relevant agencies contribute, and we got contributions from them. Now, they are based on their understanding of what needs to be done. Agencies are taking action, but the implications, the requirements will all grow on every single person. But it's everyone pushing to understand what needs to be done? Yes. Are we there in terms of 100% understanding what needs to be done? It's not possible because everyone is still figuring it out. But that said, AFCFTA is just a subset of our economic agenda. One of the things that we found when we are doing the impact and readiness assessment, we are looking at infrastructure. We looked at, okay, which are the roads that we need to be built? And we identified the roads, the Lakaji corridor roads, the Port Harcourt-Ngala corridor, and all of that. We looked at it, and then we looked at the road projects that the Ministry of Works was doing, and we found out that both in terms of what was in the budget, what was covered in the Sukuk, and what was covered in other financing options, that there was and there is a very strong alignment. So really, government has been working. The ease of doing business is contributing to this. What the Ministry of Power is doing, everything that government is doing is contributing to this. So directly and indirectly, focused on AFCFTA or not, all the government agencies are working towards that. So to that extent, the answer is yes. But understanding the specific implications of the AFCFTA and getting it done is something that is happening. And the same way the private sector is figuring it out, the same way every agency of government is figuring it out and moving along. That is on that one. But is there the energy? Is there the zeal? I mean, are people doing what needs to be done? The answer is yes. On quality, the second one is quality assurance. How do I get the quality certification? So SON is working in this area, and there are a number of initiatives ongoing. One is that working towards common African standards, and our SON is part of that, and in a number of areas that's going on. There are one of the key things that we've identified that we need to do this year is to certify a number of Nigerian, at least 100 Nigerian businesses to global standards, be it Global GAP, HACCP, or others that they need to be able to get into African markets, but also the global markets. This is a major priority. And some of the issues, as you will imagine, certification is expensive. So, and you want to make sure if you spend that money certifying your business, you want to make sure that you can sell. So working with SON, working at the committee level, working with businesses, MAN, Nigerian Agriculture Business Group, and others to put all that together and get at least 100 businesses certified in this 2021 is something that we are working towards. Now, but besides that, there's a national quality policy that we expect to be approved and any moment from now. You have the Nigerian you have a number of institutions that would drive policy that we have and are getting up to speed in their areas. And there's just a lot more that needs to be done. But really, if you think about it, it's about getting that getting certified to global standards. That's what needs to be done. And that's what all businesses need to look at. In terms of, we talked about arbitration. Okay, so I don't know what the specific question is there, but what I'll say is we are working to establish a trade remedies authority. By the AFCFTA agreement, disputes will be at government to government level. But between individuals or companies and the government is reporting where there are issues. The authority will conduct investigations, and then where required, take cases to the dispute resolution or dispute settlement body that is being set up as well. In terms of trust, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, so two ways I'll look at it. At the moment, the trade level is very low. So really, where are the leverages that you need to be able to get people to listen to you? When you build regional value chains, when you see the connection between my economy and your economy, then behaviors will change. And we need to build that, and trade is the easiest way to build that. So it is something that we need to do. If we have to move our neighbors from their current transit focus, which is really parasitic for us. So Benin Republic and others depend on the cost of the import revenues. And for as long as that is the case, then they will have to solve for themselves. So trade is the avenue to build that connection, which will then grow the trust. The second angle is that at the end of the day, it's about growing the pie. And for us, growing the pie means that we can create more jobs. The issues that we are having, be it in Ghana or South Africa, is about people are protecting local jobs. So, and it won't go away. It is something that as long as we all keep growing the pie everywhere and keep increasing trade, then these things will solve. But these are issues. In Nigeria, over 20-30% unemployment. In South Africa, it's the same thing. Ghana, I don't know the exact figure, but it's all unemployment causing all of that. Movement of people. There is, so trade goes with movement of people, yes. And from one thing to say is, we are where we are today. We have 200 million people. Nigerians, we are all over the place. So really, some African countries are also afraid of being overwhelmed by Nigeria. So that movement of people is, we take it as we go. Some countries have signed on to the movement of persons protocol. Nigeria has not signed. By the way, Nigeria is also scared of people flooding us because we are the biggest economy. So taking it back to trust, we keep building trust with every step that we take. And at some point it becomes, be it a visa-free movement or whatever, becomes the next logical step. And I keep saying, it is a long journey. It is a minimum 10-20-year journey that we're talking about here. And we just have to take it a step at a time. The currency of trade. Many people would have heard the announcement about Afreximbank working with the African Union on a payment settlement system. And what that is supposed to do is that you transact in your local, you transact but you pay in your local currencies, and you get settled in your currencies. So that is work in progress and should facilitate transactions under AFCFTA. The last one on infrastructure. So there's a lot being done in power. There's a lot being done on roads. There's a lot more. There's a lot being done on rail. A lot has been achieved on the rail sector in the past 4 years. 10 years ago, the argument, the debate was, we can't even start standard gauge. It has been done now, and it is moving. So really, when you look at the trade and what we're trying to do with AFCFTA, and look at the issues that we're talking about, they start looking transient. The issues are really transient. When you look at it in relation to the destination of where we are going. And so we just have to, the issues are there, the problems are there, but like I said earlier, if we are happy with the devaluation of the currency, and in the past 5 years, over 90%, if we're happy with that, okay, but we are not. We have to do something. So all these things, we'll take them and we'll solve and we'll go. And I will end by saying, businesses are already doing what we're talking about. We've had a strategy session since September till December on AFCFTA, trying to develop that national AFCFTA strategy for Nigeria, which should be out this quarter. And what you find, and we had a lot of private businesses, and what you find is that people are taking action. People are moving. SMEs are moving. Big businesses are moving. Multinational companies are moving. Another thing, AFCFTA would transform Nigeria into a hub for a number of sectors. Oil and gas sector, transportation, business services, because all of a sudden, if you are able to attract a critical mass of business in Nigeria, it makes sense that you can then, the same way you have an Abuja office if your headquarters is in Lagos, is you have an Accra office, you have office in Cairo and so on, but your critical business is in Nigeria. So your customers from outside Africa will deal with you, and then you will deal with others as satellites. So the opportunities are really are there for businesses to look at and find where they would play. But really, for businesses, it's about sitting down and saying, what is my strategy for Africa? Okay. Just the same way we were doing that 20 years ago. Every business was asking, what was your China strategy? It is, what is my Africa strategy?
Okay, thank you very much, Francis. Really appreciate. I know that those were tough questions to deal with. The next set of questions are going to go to Yewande, and I know that she's back on. I will confess that I would be very biased. I am from Ekiti State. My origin is Ekiti State, so I've reserved the very difficult questions for Francis. And I'm just going to ask you just one question. And then if you have some more information, you can give us. Now we understand where we are. We know this is a marathon. And by God's giving grace, you're at the position in this time to contribute to this process. And it's a process. I mean, the ministers before you have contributed, and now it's your turn to make your contributions. And somebody's going to come, thereafter. Many people more will come thereafter. So we're looking at 2031, 2041. But in 2041, when my grandchildren, when my grandchildren are around, what kind of Africa will they be operating in, and what would have been your contribution for them to discuss your legacy?
Thank you very much. By 2041, I believe my grandchildren should be adults by then as well. So you can rest assured that it is in my interest also to leave a legacy that would be of benefit to my grandchildren as well. What we are trying to do in our ministry today is we are trying to create a Nigeria that is the major manufacturing hub in Africa. Like I pointed out, this year we're going to do a lot of work, especially with regards to industrial estates. We want to create as many industrial estates as possible. We want to, we're working hand in hand with the state governments who have expressed a lot of interest in partnering with the federal government in this regard. The industrial estates that we're trying to put together are such that we will be working to make sure that they have all the required facilities such that anybody who wants to come and manufacture in Nigeria will just literally plug and play. Just come in, put in your equipment and start manufacturing immediately, because we are going to have embedded power, we're going to have water, we're going to have all the infrastructure necessary in the various industrial estates. And we are working hard to see to that we work assiduously, especially with regard to local raw materials, especially within the agricultural sector. So these are the kind of things that we are working on. We believe that Nigeria, being the largest economy in Africa, should lead the way in manufacturing, and we are working hard to see to it that we achieve that.
Okay, there's just one more question that is not seeming to go away, and that's the tax or the duty on cars. And I know that there's a balance here. I know that those who have invested in manufacturing of cars are saying, why are you, reducing, the import duty on new cars? And, there's that push and pull. Do you want to say something on that, in response to that?
Yes, like I pointed out in my paper, we are working on an auto bill. We are working on an automotive policy, which we are hoping to take to Federal Executive Council at some point. This is the first quarter of this year. The government passing of the finance bill and the reduction of duty on vehicles is as a result of government being conscious of the difficulties being encountered by Nigerian people. Government is desirous of Nigerian people getting access to motor vehicles, and that is why they passed, they reduced the duties. However, we are in touch. We are working as a government, my ministry, in conjunction with our parastatal, the Nigeria Automotive and Development Council. And we are in talks with the Ministry of Finance. We are looking at these issues with a view to coming up with what can be sustainable. What the government has done is to address the issue in the short term. We are working with other agencies of government to come up with a policy that would be able to stand the test of time, in not only in the short term, but in the medium to long term as well.
Okay. Finally, Francis has touched on this, but I just want you to at least give some more word of encouragement on this. And we, as facilitator in chief of this policies, how are you holding together all the other government agencies so that Nigeria is on one page? One is not saying one and another one is saying, or somebody in customs doesn't even know what AFTA is talking about, that kind of issue. How are we holding together this?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, especially what we are doing this year, we intend to, well, so far what we have been doing is we've been sitting together, especially with the Minister of Finance, Central Bank, the Customs, to look at all these problems. As you're aware, His Excellency the Vice President is in charge of the National Economic Council. So under the auspices of his office, we will be sitting down and we will engage more than we have done in the past with a view to aligning all government policies that have to do with the economy of this country.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Pastor Ben, do you want to say a word of thanks before the Minister leaves us? PB, do you want to say a word of thanks before the Minister leaves us? Okay, if we're having challenges connecting with PB, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for at least coming, and I'm sure that we will still send questions to your office and your assistants if we have any issues. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Okay, Yewande, we'll go on, please. Yewande, there are questions
Okay.
around, and I just want you at this point in time to put on your hat as an investment banker to advise businesses. There are questions around incentives, particularly for a Nigerian business, right? Particularly from your agency. Another question that I want you to address is this the right time for Nigerian businesses to start to think of cross-border partnerships, in your opinion? And I want you to answer that as an investment banker. Then what would you say to a Nigerian business that is thinking protection mode? So how should I protect myself? Should I protect myself by looking again for government to protect me, or should I just go on the attack being up my game and understand that my market space has just increased and therefore I can make more revenue? And then we can't say all this without talking about the SME, the small, medium-sized operations who's thinking, what's in it for me? How do I benefit, from this? So Yewande, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Adeji. Again, my apologies to all for disconnecting at just the wrong time. But when technology fails sometimes, it does so spectacularly. The questions you've asked me are fantastic questions, and I'm happy that we are at this point where questions like this are being asked. I find in relation to the AFCFTA, when business asks what is in it for me, it is equivalent to asking somebody in government, how do I make profit from my business? It is a question that only the private sector can answer. In reality, what has happened with the AFCFTA is that the name of the game has changed. So the private sector needs to, as quickly, as comprehensively, and as urgently as possible, understand what that agreement says. What it effectively translates to is that if you started a business because you thought there was a large market in Nigeria, you now have access to the rest of the continent. But businesses in Ghana, businesses in Kenya, businesses in South Africa are thinking in exactly the same way. So the competition in many ways has been upped. But we have seen with Nigerian businesses that have gone outside the shores of the continent, that they have actually competed very, very fairly. In fact, what most Nigerian businesses have faced has more been opposition from host economies not to allow them in than the inability to compete. So the universe in which an SME, a Nigerian business, can sell their products and services is now much larger. So the quality of your products, you're not selling only to your neighbors, you're not selling only to your friends, you can now potentially sell to the rest of the continent. The need for a higher quality output, a higher quality product offering is even more intense now. It's even more important that we think in the context of winning on a quality basis. Protection can never last forever. I mean, protection can last for a government, a season, or whatnot. It is our competitiveness that is ultimately the game. And I believe that a multitude of private sector organizations, private sector groups, the organized private sector, as we call it, needs to come together to have conversations about how they can take advantage of this opportunity. But it is not something that government can tell you, because government, as we all know, is not in the business of business. But to the extent that the race has started, the horse has bolted, it is now up to the private sector, in my view, to hold the reins and drive how Nigeria translates this. I use the example of when Nigeria issued the telco licenses. At that time, it wasn't like the economic environment was the most favorable. When MTN in South Africa paid $285 million to have a license to operate a GSM operations in Nigeria, the share price actually fell because the market felt that they had made the wrong gamble on Nigeria. But such is the size of the Nigerian market and its ability to support efficient, effective business set up this game without the support of government. But the private sector cannot, must not wait for government to tell it where the opportunities lie and how to take advantage of them. But sessions like this to better understand the agreement is what the private sector should do. Is it the right time for Nigerian businesses to start thinking cross-border? I think even more than ever. If you're in the services sector and you want to provide a service, not only in Nigeria, but across the continent, the value of local knowledge, as it works in Nigeria, is the way it works in other countries. The value of local knowledge, in my view, is unquantifiable. And having partners in countries that you can collaborate with will be useful. The one thing that the private sector must do, the one thing that the private sector must insist on, is that the rules of the game, the rules of origin and the like, are properly enforced. That is one thing that Nigeria must do. I see that somebody asked a question about the closure of the border. Personally, and I'm speaking personally, I thought that the closure of the border was injurious to Nigerian business, personally. But there were a variety of reasons why government thought that was necessary. It was also the one that I understand and the one that I help people understand the border closure is that it was important for Nigeria to send a strong message that AFCFTA, in reality, the businesses in Nigeria only benefit if everybody follows the rules. If the rules of origin, for instance, are not followed and goods are coming into Nigeria as if they were made in a neighboring country, then clearly that is not acceptable. So sending that strong message hopefully was useful and will help people understand that Nigeria will work on enforcing the rules. But the opportunities that the AFCFTA offers, taking full advantage of them, working in government, I'm not sure that I'm the appropriate person to answer it. I think it is private sector organizations that need to come together and see this as the size of the pie increasing and, come up with strategies for taking advantage of that increased pie. Whatever government can do to support that happening is a conversation I'm happy to have, but I cannot tell the private sector how to take advantage of private sector opportunities that they are best able to. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Yewande, thank you very much. Always as frank and always helpful. Thank you very much, Yewande. Yewande, thank you very much. Always as frank and always helpful. Thank you very much, Yewande. I will just move on to Mr. Muda Yusuf. Mr. Muda Yusuf, yes, there are many reasons and many things that are wrong. I mean, capacity, productivity, infrastructure, all that. But I think it is still a lot left. There's still a lot that we as business owners and businesses must do. Our mindset must change. Our attention to quality, our attention to the customer, to the market. How will the Chamber of Commerce help? I mean, what would you do for your members, or how would you contribute to this? I mean, just to help businesses be better prepared for the AFCFTA.
Yeah, thank you. In business, you have the internal environment of business and you have the external environment. Of course, within the space of the internal environment, there's a lot that the Chamber has been doing and will continue to do within the limits, of course, of its resources. That is about building capacity, ensuring that they get the right kind of business information, also championing the advocacy to ensure that you have a much better environment for them to operate. And also generally talking to them about the need to review their business models. Just as previous speakers have said, this is a time to rethink the business models that we have, because the fundamental assumptions of investment, especially from the point of view of competition, is changing, and it's changing in a very big way. So that requires, an adjustment in models. Of course, the capacity to adjust also depends on how flexible your business is. Not all businesses have that kind of flexibility, and that is why it is important for us within the concept of the AFCTA strategy, national strategy, to identify the vulnerable segments in the economy that will suffer from this. Because these things are important so that we have a policy that is as much as possible inclusive. In many other countries, you don't just leave the private sector alone, you go and sort out things. You get a whole lot of support. So that is what I would say. But for the external environment, an external environment is very, very critical in any investment. That is not so much within the purview of the private sector. The private sector cannot set up its own ports. You can't set up your own customs. You can't do your own regulatory environment. You can't construct your own roads and all of those things. So those things are also very important, because at the end of the day, what matters is how competitive you are. And you don't want a situation where we have a scenario where Nigeria will now become a destination for those who want to sell, rather than a destination for those who want to invest. Because ideally, given our size, our population, the size of our economy, Nigeria should be the hub of the continent. We should naturally be the hub. Just as Germany is to EU, Nigeria should be an equivalent of that to the African continent. But it's a function of what kind of environment we create. Because this is the natural place where people should come and set up industry and sell to the rest of Africa. But we need to fix the environment. We cannot overemphasize that. Because otherwise, what will happen is that this AFCTA will attract investors, manufacturers into the continent. But those investors will locate areas where it is much easier to do business. They set up there and sell to other places. That is why we need to up our game. We need to act very urgently around all these issues, all these enabling environment issues. So let me stop there. That is the perspective that I like. But this is not to diminish the importance of the AFCTA. It's something, it has a lot of promise. But in order to optimize the opportunities, we need to look at the internal environment of businesses. That is an enterprise level issue. And we also need to look at the external environment. That is a government issue. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Muda Yusuf. I like the fact that you are at least a voice for businesses, and you're putting government on their toes to see that irrespective, there's much to be done on their own part, particularly in terms of creating an enabling environment. Francis was reminding us that in any case, one way or the other, we have businesses that have already started to operate cross-border. So the point is just to continue to reposition yourself. One thing I hear from everybody that has spoken, particularly in this segment, including the minister, the game has changed. The game has completely changed. All of a sudden, the market is bigger. It's a sink or swim situation. We've had situations where Nigerian businesses expanded too early and they sank. The point now is to put your best foot forward, prepare yourself, whether in terms of your people, in terms of your capacity, in terms of your products, in terms of certifications, even in terms of language. All of a sudden, because in Africa in itself, a certain percentage of Africa speaks French, a certain percentage speaks Portuguese. All of a sudden, you've just got to up your game. But that's why we're here, to remind ourselves of the opportunities and the implications.